Ladies and gentlemen, whether you've been watching my channel since the very beginning, more than half a decade ago, or whether you only recently got into chess and have watched just a little bit of my content, or this is the first chess video you have ever clicked on. In chess, there are so many beautiful games played. But the amazing thing is, at any given moment, a new one can pop up. And that's what I'm going to be showing you in this video. When you play a game of chess and you click on the game review icon on chess.com, it tells you good moves, bad moves, blunders, brilliancies. Brilliant moves are hard to come by. But in this video, I will show you 6 of them in one game, and it is a game that was played just yesterday. I'm recording this in March of 2026. We are going to Prague. We're going to Prague in the Czech Republic, and the protagonist is actually the superstar, the local hero, David Navara himself, Czech Grandmaster. He's playing in the Prague Masters, and this is one of the greatest games that I have seen in many years. So sit back, relax, and enjoy yourselves. Your goal for this video should be to obviously be impressed and maybe learn a couple of things. You can add this opening to your toolbox if you're a strong player. This is really not something that beginners can try to replicate, but just enjoy because it's really a spectacular game. White opened with the move d4. Queen's pawn game, black played knight f6, and white went c4. Of course, already here, white can play London or Trompowsky. Knight f6 is a very flexible move, not showing white which pawn you want to move yet. After c4, Yakoboyev, Grandmaster Nodirbek Yakoboyev from Uzbekistan, Olympic gold medalist, by the way, plays the move e6. Now, one thing about this game is they're rating 26-28, 26-91. You would think black is a sizable favorite, 60-point rating advantage. David Navara is a monster. I think he's underrated at 26-28, really. So it's a little bit deceiving. Now here, white has many options. Black wants to play the move d5 and also pin the knight if it arrives on c3. Knight c3, bishop to b4 is the Nimzo-Indian defense. Very popular, very old, very modern, very old school. It's been around for a very long time and constantly being discussed. Knight to f3 is what you play if you want to avoid bishop to b4 pinning your knight, but bishop b4 is still possible. Navara plays g3. Now, g3 sends the game into what is known as a Catalan. A Catalan is the queen's gambit with knight f3, bishop g2, pressure on this long diagonal. Clearly, there was a reason Navara didn't play this move right away. There are some move order tricks. Also, he could have been baiting his opponent into certain things. None of that really matters because we get pawn to d5, knight f, bishop g2, bishop b7, knight f3, castles, castles. We have the main line position of the Catalan. Black, at this point, can take on c4. This is the major question. Black can take on c4, and when you take the pawn on c4, you go on the roller coaster ride of defending the Catalan. White will try to win this pawn back with either queen c2, knight e5, queen a4. Black will go for a6 and b5, and sometimes move this bishop around, and maybe c5, and so on. But Yakoboyev plays knight bd7. So he plays a very solid line. This is called the closed Catalan because you don't open the center. You don't play pawn takes pawn. You just set up your pieces like this, and you will defend your position from this point. And now, Navara plays queen c2. This defends the pawn, so now if the pawn were to ever take on c4, he would be winning the pawn back immediately. Also, he points the queen into the center of the board, and that's important because maybe this pawn will go up 2 squares, and also the queen is pointed at h7. Now, I'm not saying you're going to take on h7. I'm even not saying you're going to take on h7 after you move the knight to g5, but there actually are some positions where, if black is not careful, there are tactics with the move knight g5. And now a5. You will notice, folks, they started the game with 90 minutes on the clock, and by move 7, they actually have more time than that. It's because every time they make a move, they gain 30 seconds. That is the way chess time controls work at top tournaments. That way, nobody is basically beating the other on time by slapping the clock at the very end. But it is weird that you get more time, honestly, compared to any other sport. Like, you don't really get bonus time. You kind of get it in football, soccer, but that's like for 5 minutes at the very end, not on every move. Regardless, that is how it works. And Navara plays this move bishop g5. The point is this bishop is not going to have a particularly comfortable spot. It's not doing anything there or here. And on f4, it's kind of active, but the knight will always come traded. So basically, bishop g5 is like you're sending in the bishop to capture the knight, and that is exactly what he does. He trades off the bishop for the knight, and the point of doing this is that now, after this position, white doesn't have any problem pieces. This bishop would have actually been more congested. And so now you trade it off, you connect your rooks, you're going to put them on B1, C1, D1, E1, wherever you see more fit to either support your center or support an advancement or maybe crack open the position. And this bishop is going to be a monster. Since black played a Queen's Gambit decline, the light squared bishop for black is not going to have an easy spot to develop to. It's going to be blocked in over here, and if it tries to go out this way, you will be weakening certain key squares in the position. So that is basically what the point of this opening is. Yakoboyev plays c6, and then he plays b6. And now he is trying, essentially, to get the bishop out while not having any other weaknesses. The problem is this pawn is just not protected by anything. It's not guarded by anything. And that opens up tactical possibilities for white. And David Navarra is one of the most creative players. He doesn't play in the top circuit all that much, really, anymore, because his rating is 26-28. And in chess, we rely on invitations. But given a position where he can be creative, he's going to be freaking creative. And I will show you, he will uncork some unbelievable moves in this game. So he plays e4. Everything in white's position is screaming to begin overtaking the opponent. If you think about what chess really is, chess is a battle of the figurines that the chess gods give you, right? All of these pieces. And so when you have more space than your opponent, and you have better coordination than your opponent, and you have more activity than your opponent, you need to capitalize on that. You can't just sit there. So e4 is intending to smash open the position, open up all the lines, push the knight back over here. So black has to now fight back. Black takes this pawn on c4. In the very beginning of this video, I mentioned that that pawn on c4 can be taken, and then white will spend some time winning it back. Right now, black has too many soft spots, and so knight e5 is played. And basically, Navarra is trying to win at least one of these pawns back, and then also dominate the position with a very powerful center. Black has what's called the bishop pair. He has the two bishops, and white only has one bishop, but the bishops are not particularly effective. They're not out on the long-range diagonals. They don't even have any clear targets. Black is really close to just being totally lost. Like, if you guard the wrong pawn, you will just lose. For example, bishop to a6, knight takes c6, the queen can go to e8, and after this, you're already just lost with black because knight takes e7 and bishop takes rook and pawn takes, like, everything is falling apart. Yakoboyev does not lose like that and immediately starts fighting back over here. But if you really look at the position, look at what we have after just 15 moves. Navarra has two dominant center pawns, very strong. He has two strong knights. Right, his queen and rooks are connected and are going to march down the center line. Only two pawns have crossed black's third rank, really. Now, you could say, well, Levy, the same for white. Yeah, but it doesn't quite feel the same. I mean, these bishops are not very active. You cannot play c5. You know, white is threatening to go e5, etc. So rook c8. Now Navarra has this position. What to do? What do you do here to end up in a Gotham YouTube video? Which, of course, is the dream of every chess player. Like, it's basically win the world championship, Gotham recap video with your, you know, with your game. Navarra plays rook c1. One final preparatory move. Every piece has been given a chance to play. Now what? You've moved the queen, the knights, the bishop, the rooks. Now it's time to start changing the nature of the position. We declare hostilities. We cross the center line. We are attacking Yakoboyev's knight. By playing this move, we have also opened up the bishop, we've also opened up the queen, we freed up the e4 square for our knight, or maybe our queen to transfer over here. This square has gotten a lot weaker. We no longer defend it with the pawn, right? So the knight could go there. That is exactly what he does. And knight e4. And basically, Navarra is trying to reposition his material in a way that he will generate some sort of an attack. Black has to act now. He needs to take here, that's what he should have done, give white this solid position, and strike with pawn to c5. Now is the moment. Now, this doesn't look possible because white defends this with 1, 2, 3, 4. So you would get knight c5, something like bishop g2, king g2, and black would just be down a pawn. Black would simply be down a pawn. If you take this, I take queen c6. But apparently, this is what you had to go for, and simply improve your position with rook c7, and then go for rook c8 and try to fight back. This was the only chance that black had to maybe neutralize the position. Instead, black went here. And this little journey with the horse, this little journey to try to attack the queen and force it to go backwards, is going to cost black the game. So black played knight d5, and in this position needed to snap off this knight and strike back, and instead black's knight went here, and black's knight took a pawn. So knight f6, knight d5, knight b4, knight a2, threatening the rook. This little journey, as well as being kicked out knight b4, allows white to generate an attack. You have lost time. And in chess, at this level, time is everything. White has all of these pieces standing around. How do you actually break into the position? Like this. David Navarra sacrificed the knight. Knight f6 check. It's a check. Brilliant move number one. If you take with the pawn, which looks very natural, in comes queen g4. Okay, very easy. The king just moves out of the way, let's say to h7 or to h8. If you go king to h8, I play queen to h4, apply more pressure to this pawn. I also apply pressure to that pawn. I'm threatening queen h4, pawn takes f6, and bishop e4. And that's actually the problem if, that is actually the problem if you go to h7 as well, because if you go to h7, I have all sorts of bishop e4 ideas, f5, and I have knight f5, pawn takes, and queen h7 mate. So knight f6 check, meaning black has to, now if black goes here, queen h5, knight g4, knight takes h6. Black's king cannot defend against the fury of the knight, the queen, the knight, the other bishop. These pieces are stuck over here, and there is no way to get them to the other side of the board. Knight f6 check, brilliant move number one. Bishop takes, he has to take like this, pawn takes, and now we have a moment here. Nodjabek can breathe. He brings the queen back to the d8 square, targeting this pawn and making it capture. Pawn takes, king takes. Okay, black has sort of seemingly survived the worst of it. I mean, you jumped in with the knight, you showed that you have all these tactics, but now what? Well, I got news for you. The attack's not over. Knight to g4. Now we begin the second wave of attack. I'm targeting h6. I'm targeting e5 and f6, the weak squares. I'm looking at queen e3, queen d2, queen e5 check, all this different stuff. These pieces are standing around, but they are not defending the king. Yakoboyev plays rook a8. Rook a8 definitely has some merit. It has some ideas. I mean, he's just transferring the rook. He's making sure the pawn is protected. He also could be preparing some sort of advancement. He wanted to probably move the queen, but he couldn't because rook a5 was going to be lost, right? Like the queen needed to guard this pawn. So he plays rook a8. And we have check. Very nice move from Navarra. Navarra baits this pawn forward. So now you have three pawns standing around. But taking this, does he want to take it? Because then there's bishop c8 ideas. He does. He grabs the pawn. In needing to defend his pawn, Yakoboyev goes a pawn down. Actually, no, he doesn't go a pawn down. He won a pawn. Right? He won a pawn over here on a2. Totally forgot about that. Doesn't even feel that way. So we have this. And now Yakoboyev begins defending his position with queen d6. He's looking at bishop d7. He's looking to bring the knight back, just making sure everything is holdable. How does Navarra reposition here with just 10 minutes on the clock before he runs out of time to win the game? Brings the knight back to e3. He's looking to launch another attack with knight f5 and so on. So the bishop goes to d7. The rook is ready with a4, rook e8. You're going to try to fight back. But Navarra senses the moment. And bishop d7 is actually a pretty big mistake. It's really tough to figure out what else you can do because white is preparing d5. White is preparing to smash open the position. Bishop, knight, rook, all supporting that move. It has to be the best move. And this move doesn't stop it. How does this move not stop it? Let me present to you brilliant move number two. Hidden in this forest, there is a devastating move for white. It's obvious when I show it, and if you're a strong intermediate, you will spot it just purely on tactical instinct. You might be looking at the move knight f5. Fork, king and queen. Well, it's defended by the bishop, which means you know what's not defended by the bishop? The pawn! Navarra sacrificing the queen. Such a rare tactic. You just take a pawn that's protected by by a piece. Your queen is going to be lost, but it's a very simple thing. If you go here, there's nothing for the bishop to attack. I check you, I win the queen, and this endgame is just totally lost. Black is hopelessly lost here. Why? The knight will leave. You will then lose another pawn, and I will probably promote this pawn. You'll just be down two pawns in an endgame at this level. At beginner and intermediate level, this is not hopeless at all for black, but at this level, it's definitely hopeless. So queen takes b5 on the board. Knight to c2 is a really classy counterattack. And probably what Yakoboyev thought after bishop d7 is queen b5 is simply not possible because I have this amazing knight to c2. Knight to c2 hits the rook and the knight. And you're like, wait a minute, what can I just take? Continuity. I always talk about this, continuity. How a move impacts all the other pieces and squares. You cannot take this. The knight needs to threaten this move. If you take this, you just lose the queen. The knight was supposed to go there. It can't do that anymore. So in many ways, knight c2 is really clever because the queen hangs, the rook hangs, And more importantly, the knight hangs. If I take your knight, your queen is now just floating. It's going to be captured. So what does white play here? It looks like white is totally out of options. White has 3 pieces hanging. David Navarro saw beyond queen b5 and now re-sacrifices the queen. How? Queen c6. I've never seen something like this before. The queen is re-sacrificed on the diagonal. But what's the point? The point is the queen now threatens the queen. The difference on this square was if the bishop took, then the knight would go there. But that was it. But now the queen is in your face and threatening to take your queen. And if you take, we already know what's going to happen. If you take, I go knight f5. Let's say you move your king to h7. I take your queen. You could take my rook all you want. But after this, yes, for a brief moment, Nordjebek with black is up a point. He's up 1 point. But this pawn's promoting, and this knight's not going anywhere. So you're going to get c7 and bishop b7 or bishop h3, and you're simply going to make the queen. The knight cannot get back to stop you, this one. So queen c6 is ludicrous. Now comes queen e7. It gets even better here because white could re-sacrifice the queen again, but he plays the second best move, which is queen c7, sacrificing his rook in the corner of the board, also giving up the knight on e3, and potentially giving it up with a check. Now Navarro has fully committed to winning the game with the d-pawn. He just needs to break down the defenses. Knight takes e3 here is the move played by Yakuboyev, who for a brief second looks like he's back in the game, but here comes d6. So this knight is hitting this, and it has already captured a knight, but you attack the queen, you threaten the rook in the corner, the queen goes to e6, and now Navarro doesn't take the knight. He pins it! He pins the knight, so now it's not going anywhere. Rook takes e3 is going to appear on the board, threatening the queen, and then rook e7 is going to be absolutely decisive, and the rook in the corner is hanging. So we have rook a6 trying to play defense. Now Navarro could just play rook e3 here, but then he would be losing the pawn. So he plays rook d1! It's just, every piece has been hanging. Every single piece has been attacked by every single other piece. Rook d1 simply defends the pawn. And you cannot take it because you would lose your queen. And now on the next move is going to come rook e3. But it's going to get actually even better than that. Navarro could not help but win this game in the utmost of styles. So queen g4 played. You cannot take the knight now because I would take your rook. You have to take it like this, but you really don't want to play that move. I mean, you block in your rook. So Navarro, he just attacks the queen. He just makes a threatening move because he wants to take like this. Right? Makes sense. Also, the queen has to guard the bishop. So queen a4, very tricky. The queen guards the bishop and still continues to target the rook. Right? So you still can't do this. Well, Navarro, very simple. He just attacks the queen again. He's just deflecting the queen from the defense of all its pieces. Yakuboyev is now hopelessly lost. But how do you actually win this game? Queen takes b3. White can play rook e3. Wait, no, white can't play rook e3. And if white plays pawn takes e3, well then, again, he's blocking all of his initiative and the queen is going to come back. So how is Navarro going to win this? He's going to take the bishop. But if he takes the bishop, black has this move. Rook f7. Now the queen has to move and the knight can take the rook or even the bishop. But what do you do here? I'll tell you what you do. You sacrifice the queen again! Queen f7! He just takes the rook that's protecting the king! Unbelievable. The queen sacrificed over and over. Queen b5, queen c6, queen f7, and when the king takes, the pawn just goes. The pawn just goes. d7, and you can't stop the queen. Nobody can stop the queen. Rook a8 is a valiant effort, except the bishop would just take the rook, so that is impossible. So after d7, Yakuboyev took the bishop, and the point of taking the bishop was, if d8 queen, at least I would get your rook, and maybe I can slow you down, but this king is just too weak. Material would be the same, but it doesn't really matter, and you don't even have to take back, because then you would allow some defense. You would just go straight for the king with rook d7. But Navarro is a man after my own heart. And so here, rather than promoting the queen, Navarro, sacrifice the rook, rook e7 check. One more dagger in the heart of the black king. And the point of this move is that the knight will not be taking the rook. The king will be taking the rook. And if he doesn't, I make a queen, and my rook survives, and the attack continues. What makes this all possible is black does not have a move to attack the white king. Everything is protecting everything else. So the king takes on e7. Now you make a queen with a check, and that is the critical difference. King to f7. The rook comes into d7. King g6. Queen e8. King g5. And here, you don't even play f4 or h4. You play the quiet move, queen e4. Even in this position, after the battle is over and it's simply a formality to get the king, you still make a beautiful move like queen e4, and there is no way for black to check you. Isn't that completely nuts? White's king is so safe. Yes, of course, this pawn can make a queen, but it's going to take 4 moves, and in the meantime, you threaten rook g7. And so black plays f5, rook g7 check, rook g6, pawn to h4, you get everybody involved. If the king goes to f6, you have queen e7 mate. If you go this way, it's made in a few more moves like queen f5, and Yakoboyev surrendered his king, played king f6, and got mated on the board. A true sportsman, by the way, did not resign, walked into checkmate on the board. David Navarro winning an absolutely breathtaking game. I mean, the Catalan is such an opening. It's a positional tool. You know, you grind down the opponent with central space and so on. But if the opponent plays daring chess in a way where they lose a little bit of time, they lose the defense of their king, clearly Yakoboyev thought, well, I'm just going to take and go back. He did not sense the danger here, and knight f6 landed, you know, like a lightning bolt from the sky. And now he's like, oh my gosh, queen h5, knight g4. I don't have the material in front of my king to defend myself. I always say, if you want to sacrifice material, you need to have 2 more attacking pieces than defenders. I call it the rule of +2. It's in my second book, How to Win at Chess Next Level. Not out yet. It's out in 7 months, but you'll have to wait a little bit. But here he's going to have 3 pieces versus 0 for the king. And after this, it was really impressive that Navarra understood in this position he's still the one attacking, even though he's down a pawn. And then he won the pawn back, and then he went queen b5, and by far the more impressive move, queen c6. What a concept. A queen sacrifice turned into an offensive juggernaut, actually threatening to take the queen, forcing black into passivity. Here, d6 would have been even more vicious, but he did it like this, brought both rooks, and then deflected the queen twice, like h3, b3, using all of his material. And just when you thought black had figured it all out, the queen bulldozes the rook. It bulldozes the rook, and the pawn gets through. And for the little, you know, sprinkle on top, like taking the game from a 1-star Michelin game to a 3-star Michelin game, he just sacrifices the rook for good measure, just a little bit, you know, just like how those restaurants get some sprinkles from a forest 17,000 kilometers away from a different planet, you know. D8, rook d7, queen e4, just a beautiful understanding of the harmony of the position and how black just has no counterplay. And he wins. Incredible game. 6 brilliant moves. Ultimately, like 4 or 5 of them were the queen sacrifices. Then there was the knight sacrifice, and then there was the sacrifice of, I think of the rook. I don't know. I mean, it was sensational. Just sensational game from Navarra. He should take a bow. And I will be making a full recap of this tournament, including the incredible run that Jordan Van Forest is on, as well as the struggles of the world champion Gukesh, but all of that is to come later. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you're new to the channel, I've got all sorts of other content in case this video hit the algorithm and you're a new chess viewer, so do stick around. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Get out of here.